Emblem. Okay, so we're recording again. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. So we started up here. Make sure you look at this diagram. Know the function of all of these parts of the epidermis and dermis. To repeat, there's sweat glands originating in the dermis. Sweat glands secrete sweat and excrete waste, and their job is to keep us cool by evaporative cooling. Dermal papilla are the little indentations of the dermis into the epidermis, as if the dermis is grabbing on with little fingers into the epidermis. The epidermal ridge is little finger extensions, as if the epidermis was grabbing onto the dermis. Sebaceous gland secretes sebum, which helps waterproof our skin. Erecti pilli muscle is a little muscle attached to each hair that allows the angle the hair is arranged so that uh, warm air can be kept closer to the skin. And that's where goosebumps come from when this muscle contracts. Sweat gland duct, that's how the sweat gland produces sweat, and the sweat gland ducts open onto the epidermis. There are touch and pressure receptors along with pain receptors. This is called the Pacinian corpuscle. This is called the Meissner's corpuscle. Arteries and veins and nerves are in the hypodermis or subcutaneous layer. There are a lot of fat cells to insulate the body to help block any loss of heat through the dermis or epidermis. So the epidermis is your basic covering in which hairs grow and sweat glands release their sweat to cool you by evaporative cooling. So on WebAssign, there will be all of these structures, and there'll be questions that go through this entire structure. Okay, review, we've done that. So, okay, we talked about that. That. Okay, this is where we were. So UV radiation can activate synthesis of vitamin D3, but it can burn the skin, cause wrinkles, and many Texans get malignant melanoma and basal cell carcinoma, and you basically have to go into a dermatologist, and they basically cut a big hole in your head where you have these suspicious melanomas or carcinomas. So make sure you stay in the sun as much as possible. Don't use any suntan lotion. Don't wear a hat, because when you get old, you want to get cancer and die. That's probably not a good idea, and that's called sarcasm. So melanomas can spread, and basal cell carcinomas is a special surgery that dermatologists use to extract this cancerous start. Both of these can start cancer that spreads throughout your body, metastasizes throughout your body. So sun is great for you, but wear a hat, wear suntan lotion, and don't wrinkle your skin. So if you want your skin to be really wrinkled, you spend a lot of time in the sun, and as you get older, your skin will be damaged and wrinkled. And so take advantage of the good part of the sun. Don't get a melanoma or a basal cell carcinoma. Okay, the epidermis has multiple layers. It's flexible, self-repairing, stops fluid loss, protects from UV radiation, produces vitamin D3, resist damage from abrasion, chemicals, and pathogens. So you want to keep bacteria and viruses out. Sad to say, as we know, COVID can get in through your nasal cavity. So it doesn't attack via the skin. And the mouth, the oral cavity, is basically a wide open orifice or opening where we can drink, consume food, and also get sick. So please get vaccinated. The layers of the dermis. The first layer just underneath the epidermis is the papillary layer. We talked about dermal papillae. It's loose connective tissue. It supports and nourishes the epidermis because remember, the epidermis has no blood vessels. So the oxygen and food that the growing epidermal cells get comes from the dermis. Sensory structures are in the dermis for pressure and touch and pain and temperature sensation. There are capillaries and there are lymphatics, which are used to collect extracellular fluid that has leaked into the tissues. We'll talk about the function of the lymphatic system toward the end of the class. Okay, the next layer is the reticular layer. It has a tough, dense, fibrous layer. It has collagen fibers and elastic fibers. It blends into the papillary layer above and to the subcutaneous layer below. Remember, the subcutaneous layer contains an abundance of adipose cells, which are fat, which help the skin insulate and keep heat in the body in the cold times, and otherwise blood vessels are going to bring blood to the surface of the dermis so that heat can be lost by radiation. Okay, what else is in the dermal components? Accessory organs like fingernails, connective tissue proper. So we have blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, nerves that provide sensation. So nerve receptors can, to repeat, tell us how hot we are, tell us if we're in pain, tell us if we're have pressure, uh, something pushing against this, or so we depend upon the skin to tell us how we're doing and where we are. And the nervous system is going to control blood flow and secretion of sweat, for instance. So the dermis provides mechanical strength, flexibility, and protection of underlying tissues. It has a lot of blood vessels and sensory receptors that tell us about the external environment. Okay, let's stop there. Go back to the beginning here. I'm gonna stop recording for a moment and stop recording.